Hello, everybody. My name is Wolvenheart, as you might have already guessed and imagined. I forgot to set up my music real quick. Give me just a moment. There we go. Now, this is going to be streamed through my headset, so it will not be out loud, and I might sing a little bit while I'm listening. So, yeah. Let's just make sure y'all can't hear it, even though I can. And this will just be my list. Yeah, figure out where I am. Sorry, give me a second. There we go. I don't see my. Hang on. Ah, aha. Okay. Do note that you can be heard, by the way. Okay. Hmm. Copy. Where was I? Starting. That's where I was.
There was you? Misery. Then you came here. No? Is it your back?
Okay. I don't think this music is gonna help me much, actually. I'm gonna change it. However, we will be reading Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Dao. Now, this is a Uya or Zhaoya. It's one of the martial things. Let's just give her lo-fi beats. I'm good with lo-fi beats. Where's my coffee? There we go. That's better. Chapter 1 Rebirth. Rain, translator, Dark Angel editor, Kasuru. Oh, there's actually an editor for this one. Maybe there won't be as many mistakes as the past. We can hope. Rain Country. Ling clan residence in Grey Cloud Town. The moon has passed past the middle of the sky. The middle of the night sky. Like I said, unprofessional as hell. Just put it out right there. I don't apologize for any mistakes I make. Ling Han spent exactly 10 seconds to confirm one fact. He truly had been reincarnated. Spending 10 seconds just to confirm a fact was extremely inconceivable to a strong person from the heaven tier, but at the same time it also proved that what had happened to him was just as inconceivable. Inconceivable! In his previous life, he stood at the summit of martial arts and had completely unprecedented achievements in the art of alchemy. The three-fire guide that he had invented had even caused a revolution in the field of theory of alchemy, and he was respectfully titled Alchemy Emperor. Okay. Still, he was unsatisfied and further further advancement to reach the legendary Shattering Void tier. To shatter the void and become immortal. Immortality. As such, he visited innumerable ancient sites and finally entered Black Blood Valley, overcoming various dangerous obstacles before he discovered an ancient tower. It's always an ancient tower. Why can't it be like a new tower? This thing was just made and put in there. Why? Why does it have to be old as shit? He was not to be disappointed, for golden words appeared on the ancient tower and revealed what was a scroll with supreme skills, named Indestructible Heaven Scroll. Training in it to the highest level would allow creation of a body that neither ages nor decays, to coexist with the sky and the earth, and to have the same lifespan as the sun and moon. there's a notation here that's probably at the bottom of the page, because that's how they like to do this. Rainbow, way up high, the land of I'm gonna pause for just a moment, because now we got a lawnmower outside, and I have to close my window. By the way, I have tried to get a hold of dice. No dice. Like, I got answering machine immediately.
For Ed?
Yeah.
Try again a little bit later.
Oh, where was I? I hope, I hope that most of the lawnmower won't come through. But it is what it is. However, despite being a warrior who has reached the heaven tier, Ling Han still felt that indestructible heaven scroll was extremely obscure and difficult to comprehend, feeling as if he was reading a heavenly book completely at a loss. Well, yeah, I, I'm not sure where the confusion lies here. It's called a heaven scroll. Of course, it would be a heavenly book. Eh. Where was it? Right. He forced himself to memorize this collection of supreme skills and was just about to investigate the ancient tower when the tower jolted slightly, exuding a pillar of heavenly light that instantly shattered his mortal body. However, the strange thing was, his spirit did not actually disperse, and entered a state of semi-consciousness, which lasted for more than 10,000 years. Well, damn, brother got yeeted. In these 10 millennia, his spirit was immersed in the analyzing the indestructible Haven scroll. He couldn't do anything else during that time anyway. Finally, he comprehended the first layer of the supreme skill scribed in the scroll. To spend 10,000 years to comprehend only the first layer of a scroll containing skills, despite being a warrior of the heaven tier, what kind of concept was that? OPAF. A warrior of the heaven tier only had the lifespan of less than 1,000 years. Thus, in a normal situation, there would be no one in this world that could fully learn the contents of Indestructible Heaven Scroll, because before one had even started comprehending it, they would die of old age first. Yet Ling Han, through this strange occurrence, grasped the first layer of indestructible Heaven Scroll, and he was now suddenly reincarnated and reborn in the body of a 16-year-old young man that shared the same name. Because, god damn it, I won't be bothered to make up another name. It was extremely inconceivable. No matter how it happened, I am reborn. Although this body has not reached the second layer of body refining tier, and couldn't be any more trashy than this, I was once a warrior of the Haven tier, standing at the top of the martial Dao, and a Grand Master of Alchemy. If this body's condition is poor, then I shall use the medicinal pills to compensate for its shortcomings. I do not believe I will not be able to return to the top. Moreover, if I can train in the indestructible Haven Scroll, I can finally train. I can finally train. This is a collection of supreme skills, so powerful that it may not be from this mortal plane, but from the legendary immortal plane instead. Otherwise, how is it possible for me to spend 10,000 years and only grasp the first layer? In this life, I will definitely be able to exceed all those who came before and become immortal. Additionally, what is the matter with this body? 16 years old, and yet the guy had only reached the second layer of body refining tier. Could it be that the martial Dao of this current time is dying? Along with an explosion-like sound, uncountable memories flooded his mind. They belonged to the other Ling Han, and thus were the memories of the original owner of this body. Through this process, two completely different minds melded together and formed one, no longer separate from each other. I see. Ling Han nodded in his thoughts. The reason why he was only at the second layer of the body refining tier was because his spirit base was of too poor quality. Okay. This is a bit loud in my ear. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down a little bit more. "25 is perfectly fine." Where was I? Right. So, boy was a noob. Cool. Ah. Sometimes I frighten myself. The prerequisite to train as a warrior was that one needed to have a spirit base. Only with the spirit base could one absorb the spiritual chi from heaven and earth, train one's body, and transform the spiritual chi into their own power, origin power. Sorry. Though I don't see the need to add origin to that. Like, sure, it is the power that is their origin, but it's still their own power. I, it doesn't matter. Moving on. Some types of spirit bases absorb the spiritual chi quickly and absorb it more slowly. Some absorb it more slowly. To differentiate between them, spirit bases were categorized into four major grades: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Major Every major grade was divided further into three minor levels: high, medium, low. The best type was the Haven grade, high level, and the poorest type was the Yellow grade, low level. The spirit grade, the grade of the spirit base was decided by its purity. The purer it was, the better. Li Han's spirit base was in utter disarray, containing all five elements. In the world of martial arts, this was the worst type of spirit base. It could barely be considered yellow grade low level. Wait, if it contains all five elements, then using my knowledge of other martial books, I'm sure there's one called like Five Elements, like the Five Elements uh, Dao, or Five Elements Refining Method. Anyway, sorry, I digress. In other words, in the world of martial arts, this was the worst type of spirit base. It was the reason why he had only reached the second layer of body refining tier at his age of 16, while others of the same age had reached the fourth, had at least reached the fourth or fifth layer of the body refining tier. Li Han, in his previous life, possessed a heaven grade spirit base, which was also a high level one, the Nine Yang fire spirit base. In addition to that, he had incomparable talent in the art of alchemy and used pills to support his cultivation, spending only 200 years to reach the Haven tier, something never achieved by anyone else in the past. Five elements disarray spirit base. This is the lowest level of a spirit base. No wonder my predecessor only reached the second layer of body refining tier no matter how much he worked and trained. To me, this five elements disarray spirit base is not ugh is a bit of a problem, but with alchemical pills, I will only need 4 years to return to the top at most. Yeah, Ling Han exclaimed in his heart, as his face showed an expression of disbelief and utmost surprise. Using his extremely strong mental prowess, to once again peer at the spirit base in his dantian, he was stunned for a moment. Then shock gave way to exuberant joy showing his face. This isn't the five elements disarray spirit base. The five elements are actually in complete balance and form in the shape of a lotus. That means this is the five elements mix chaos lotus. The best of the best, even rarer than the nine yang fire spirit base. This is the spirit base hailed as the spirit base of the immortal grid. Chat, what did I just say? I might have been wrong about my diagnosis, but I did say that usually having five elements is not a bad thing. My predecessor had slow progress, but it was because immortal grade spirit base requires specialized skills to realize its true prowess. And it just so happens that I have hold of skills that suit this five elements mixed chaos lotus. The five elements Haven grade skill. 100 years. No, I only need 50 years. And I once again can reach Haven tier. Cool. I mean, eh? I realize this is going to take me a while to read if I keep up at my current pace. So I hope you all in for a long ride. This is going to be a story and a half. Mm. Even with his status as a warrior of the Haven tier from his previous life, Ling Han couldn't control his expression. Now full of joy, the spirit base was something one was born with. There was no way to change it at all. In his previous life, to shatter the empty void and become immortal, he had visited various ancient sites and obtained many different types of secret arts and cultivation techniques. The five elements heaven grade skill was one of them. Okay. I'm gonna put a pause in this. He's from 10,000 years ago. Let's put that a pin right there. 10,000 years ago. These places that he visited were considered ancient to him. And he was around 200, 300 around the time, right? And around the time of death. So how old were these places? Like, I'm trying to mentally picture it in my mind. And I'm coming up with like ancient temple in the middle of jungle. Sorry, I digress. Hmm. In his previous life, he stood at the top of the martial world, and in this life, he would once again bask in glory and create an undying legend. How did my predecessor die? Ling Han flipped through his memories, and anger quickly appeared on his face. His predecessor was the only son of the Ling clan's head. Ling Dongjing. His mother and grandparents had all passed away very early on. The Ling clan was a clan of martial artists. Every clan member knew martial arts and was proud of the fact. So how did someone like Ling Dongjing become the clan head? That was because he was the strongest and had reached his position through battling. But Ling Hong was regarded as trash since his childhood because of the issue with his spirit base, and had received much ridicule from those around him. Okay, it's understandable. People didn't realize that, hey, it's not this one, which is common and trash. It's this one, which is rare and great. It's like finding cubic zirconium and diamond together, right? You know one is trash and the other one is not. But at first look, you really can't tell the difference until you look deeper. To give his son a bright future, Ling Dongjing made an agreement with the Hongyang Academy. Huyang Academy would receive Li Han as a disciple and put all efforts into training him, in exchange for Ling Dongjing entering Purple Light Ground Valley to find and retrieve something Huyang Academy had lost many years ago. I don't hear the mo. I'll be right back, chat. I'm gonna go check to see if the mower is still going. So, The lawnmower is done, but the baby is asleep. So I'm keeping the door closed, but I'm opening the window back up because I goddamn I need it. I said twice. I have to set this. This one's fine. Alrighty. Where was I? Oh. Yu Yang Academy was an academy under the jurisdiction of the imperial dynasty of the Rain Country. So Rain Country is the place. It is not just a place where it rains and is in the country. Okay. Possessing uncountable resources, if they decided to put all effort into training him, even the worst kind of trash would be able to reach element gathering tier. But the people from Hu Yang Academy were not idiots. If that, if that item was easily retrievable, then why would they have given such generous conditions? Purple Light Ground Valley was a place fraught with danger. One wrong step could lead to death, but since it was for his son's sake, Ling Dongjing departed 7 days ago without hesitation. The day before, people from Huyang Academy came and informed the Ling clan that, as promised, they would come to pick him up on this day. Yet at the moment, the chief butler of Ling Song, Ling clan, sorry, Ling Zhongquan, had come to talk with his predecessor. He wanted to give he wanted him to give up his ah he wanted him to give up this precious position to his own grandson, Ling Muyong. The reason provided was that Ling Muyong was a genius with boundless prospects, and such an opportunity couldn't be wasted on trash. His predecessor, of course, didn't agree. After all, this was something his father had used his life in exchange to obtain. However, although Ling Zhongquan came to talk, he was actually only informing his predecessor and didn't come there to listen to the other's opinion at all. Ah, so he's an asshole. His predecessor could no longer endure and acted, but Ling Zhongquan was a warrior of the element gathering tier. Just one finger was enough to overwhelm him. How could he resist? With just one punch, his predecessor was seriously wounded and subsequently confined in his room. Obviously, not to let him create an issue in front of the people from Hongyang Academy. Once Ling Dongjing returns, everything would have already been concluded. The seriously wounded Ling Hong thus died in anger. turn off your car? I shouldn't be able to hear it over my music. People, no respect. Ah, Ling Han, Ling Han Hurumped. They've gone too far. His father used his life to obtain this position for him, and Ling Zhongquan and his grandson dared to snatch it away just like that? These extremely shameless dogs. He wouldn't accept this. He rose from his bed and instantly felt ache through his body. True, he had obtained a new life, but the injuries on his body would not recover on their own. Eh, the spirit base has been damaged. Ling Han's brow wrinkled. The attack from Ling Zhongquan had actually damaged his spirit base, and the damage to the spirit base was a troublesome issue. Only ordinary medicinal stones would be of no help. According to my understanding, there are 7 types of pills that can heal damage to the spirit base, though 4 of them require ingredients that are so expensive that even selling the whole Ling clan would not be enough. Moreover, my spirit base had only received light damage, thus does not require such high-grade pills. As for the remaining 3 types, 2 of them require molding to form pills, and that would be too much of a burden at my current cultivation of 2nd layer of body refining tier. If that's so, I only have one choice: Origin Heart Recovery Spirit Powder, which can be created by simply mixing the required ingredients at the correct ratio and cooking them into becoming a medical concoction. I will heal my injuries first, and then go stop Ling Zhongquan and his grandson. Although I do not care about this position, I will definitely not allow the opportunity that my father has traded for his life to be used to benefit the shameless grandfather-grandson pair. There's a third no here. He sat down with his legs crossed and started circulating Indestructible Haven Scroll. This was his first time circulating this cultivation technique, which might have been of the immortal grade, but because he had analyzed it for 10,000 years, it was now something that could be done easily. Wing, wing, wing. Is that supposed to be like a bell? I I don't know what that is supposed to be. Uh, I could give it a whoosh. I could give it a whoosh sound. I'm not great with onomatopoeia. So, uh, I don't know. Mm. We'll just skip that for now and move on. Powerful life signs appeared suddenly inside his body. His origin power was greatly depleted, but his injuries were quickly healing. Within just a few minutes, he was fully recovered. It is worthy of the name Indestructible Haven Scroll. I've only just started training in it, and have already felt such remarkable effects. Yet this is completely different from other types of cultivation techniques. Ordinary cultivation techniques make use of the spirit base to absorb spiritual chi from the sky and earth to transform into origin power. An indestructible Haven Scroll is the exact opposite, using origin power to refine the body and heal injuries. So you're going to need another cultivation technique in order to absorb spiritual chi in order to make it into origin power. And then use the indestructible Haven Scroll, otherwise henceforth referred to as IHS, to be the uh, healing factor. Once my training reaches the highest level, achieving immortality may not be impossible. That is why it is called Haven Scroll. Unfortunately, the level now is not enough, otherwise I could use indestructible IHS to heal my spirit base. Ling Han opened his eyes and, looking at the growing light outside his window, murmured softly, "Now I shall go and meet with Ling Zhongquan, that shameless old man, and give him a surprise." He put on his shoes, walked towards the doorway, and opened the door. In the doorway was a tall figure, blocking his advance. This man's name was Zhang Yan, one of Ling Zhongquan's lackeys.
Young Master Han, Chief Butler has commanded that you have to stay in your room today,"
Zhang Yang said with a laugh. Although the person in front of him was the son of the clan head, he was also a notorious piece of trash, and just a joke in his eyes. Li Han's gaze grew cold and said, "You dare hinder me?" It was exactly that. The chief butler had told him that he couldn't allow Ling Han to come out and get in the way at all costs. If things came to a head, he even had permission to attack him. Thus Zhang Yang smiled falsely and said,
"This is a command from the Chief Butler. Young Master Han, please do not make things difficult for me."
Ling Zhongquan, this dirty old dog, is truly cautious. He has seriously wounded me and still feels insecure, going so far as to assign someone to guard the door, Ling Han thought. This also showed how important it was to Ling Zhongquan for his grandson to enter Hu Yang Academy. If this hope was shattered, Ling Zhongquan's despair and fury could be imagined. "Get out of my way." Ling Hong spoke coldly.
"Young Master Han, this was ordered by the Chief. But
Ling Hong raised his hand and gave him a slap, speaking coldly. "What are you doing? I told you to get out of my way, and you don't?" What? He had actually received a slap from a piece of trash? Zhang Yong's covered his face in disbelief. The piece of trash actually dared to resist him. What kind of joke was this? He was furious and recalled Ling Zhongquan's words from before. If things came to head, he had permission to attack. He could not stop his hate from rising, and said thickly,
Young Master Han, this is what you forced me to."
"Pah!" Li Hong raised his hand once more and gave him another solid slap. Editor's notes. Probably referring, first one, probably referring to a scroll made of bamboo slips. Number two, Dantian refers to the sea of Qi or similar entity, believed to be located in the pubic region inside one's body. It is a key organ related to cultivating qi. It is also important in traditional Chinese medicine, mainly in reference to qi. And three, yes, the same name, but this time as a cultivation technique. Why? Anyway, that's the first chapter. How long have I been? That was almost an hour long chapter. That's impressive. Now, if you'll excuse me just a moment, I have to get up and stretch. Hmm. Should put some kind of music in here. Because it has to be like DMCA free shit, so I don't know. Hey, look, you make mac and cheese, right? How would y'all feel if I let the AI take over this one? I don't understand why this isn't allowing me to switch. What's going on here? That was weird. Anyway, um, yeah, I'm gonna let the AI take over for my reading right now while I eat. And I'm gonna pause my music. Apparently, yeah, it's a bit loud.
Zhang Yuan was about to go crazy. He had actually received 2 slaps from a piece of trash. In his fury, he did not consider how a piece of trash at only second layer of body refining tier could slap someone at fourth layer of body refining tier twice. Opening his mouth to release a great roar, he pounced at Ling Hong. There was only one thought in his head now, and that was to ruthlessly beat up this piece of trash. His one punch was filled with great power, bringing with it a slight breeze as it headed towards his target. Ling Han was oddly calm and immobile. In his previous life, he could naturally get rid of 10,000 of Zhang Yuan with a flick of his fingers, but now he only had the power of the second layer of body refining tier. The difference in strength was a bit problematic, but that was it. The one controlling his body was, after all, a former warrior of the Heaven Tier. His strength may have been lost, but his insight remained. Zhang Yuan only needed to raise his hand or move his leg, and Ling Han would be able to deduce where his punch would be heading towards and where his feet would be moving to. As a result, by the time Zhang Yuan's punch flew out, Ling Han had already reacted. True, the fist had hit its target, and Zhang Yuan revealed a cold grin. Once hit with his punch, its overwhelming power would instantly cause Ling Han to lose all means of resistance, leaving him completely at his opponent's mercy. He had hit his target, and Zhang Yuan's face revealed his surprise. Although his punch appeared to have hit Ling Han's face, it had actually missed by a slight margin. Ling Han managed to take a step back in time and just barely managed to dodge his fist. His fist stopped exactly in front of the tip of Ling Han's nose. It was almost touching it, so perfectly calculated, as if he had used a ruler to carefully measure the distance. It must be a coincidence, Zhang Yuan thought in his heart. And it was at this moment that Ling Han's palm once more flew towards him. Ha! A loud, crisp noise was heard, and Zhang Yuan received another solid slap. Damn it! Zhang Yuan spat out a mouthful of spit, let out a loud shout, and once again launched his fist, punching towards Ling Han. Who? Zhang Yuan's fist once again missed. It was as if Ling Han moved at the same moment as his upper body flew backwards, using both hands to push himself off the ground. His right foot automatically kicked out, hitting the spot in between Zhang Yuan's legs with a soft sound. Ow. Even if his cultivation was at the fourth layer of body refining tier, it didn't matter. He would still be unable to have the ability Iron Balls, and this kick had hit its target solidly. Zhang Yuan suddenly dropped down onto his knees, both hands gripping his crotch as large droplets of cold sweat appeared on his face. You're so treacherous. Zhang Yuan twitched. His whole face was so twisted it looked inhuman. But Ling Han once again gave him a slap. Zhang Yuan's mouth opened and spat out a few broken teeth. Ling Han naturally had no sympathy for him and said, "A dog will always be a dog." As expected, it would not be able to spit out ivory. 1. Zhang Yuan was extremely furious. He had actually been made to kneel on the ground and received a violent slap from someone at the second layer of body refining tier. What kind of humiliation was this? He wanted to counterattack, but the kick that his privates received had directly removed all his power to resist. Every move he took made his balls hurt in agony. But he definitely couldn't allow Ling Han to ruin Ling Zhongquan's important business. Otherwise, if he couldn't complete the task that the other had assigned him, going by Ling Zhongquan's character, he would definitely be killed. Han, young Master Han, listen to me. You can't leave this place. Actually, you have been poisoned. Once you leave this room, you will die of poison. His thoughts were anxious, so he tried to quickly think of something that would make Ling Han stay here. Ling Han could not help but smile. Did he think that this kind of terrible acting would be able to deceive him? He flew up and kicked Zhang Yuan away. He didn't have any free time to waste on this lackey. He had to stop Ling Zhongquan's evil scheme from succeeding instead. Otherwise, his father would have risked his life only to benefit others. As for Zhang Yuan, Ling Quan naturally would not take this kind of minor character into consideration. After all, Ling Zhongquan only needed to see him appear, and would naturally come to deal with Zhang Yuan. He had no need to dirty his own hands. Don't go. Don't go. Zhang Yuan sobs and pleas spread out from behind him. It was as if he could already see his own miserable end. Accomplice to a villain, he only had himself to blame, and didn't deserve the slightest bit of sympathy. Ling Han strode forward. After a few minutes, he arrived at the inner doorway to the living room. He hadn't stepped in yet, but already could hear a loud, aged voice. Miss Liu, please, please. The living room had an inner and outer doorway. The inner doorway was connected to the inner court, while the outer doorway would lead to the main room. Looking out through the
Bless me.
curtains, he could see a group of 5 walking in. The group comprised of 5 people, 4 male, 1 female. Aside from the young woman, Ling Han could recognize the 4 men. They were all Ling clan clansmen. One of them was an elderly man, the chief butler, Ling Zhongquan. Two of the other three were middle-aged men of around 40 years, both Ling Zhongquan's sons. The last one was a young man, older than Ling Han by about 1 or 2 years, and that was none other than Ling Zhongquan's eldest grandson, Ling Muyuan. Ling Han looked toward the only female in the group. Even with his eyesight from his previous life as one of the heaven tier, his eyes brightened. This young woman was truly beautiful. Her looks were like autumn, her skin as fair as the moon. She seemed to be only 17 or 18, but already possessed an elegant demeanor and beauty that could bring disaster to country and people. It was just that her aura was as cold as if she was an icy mountain, driving away any who dared to approach. This young girl would certainly be the person sent by Huyang Academy. What a coincidence. And Ling Han's eyes widened slightly. He had discovered something even more coincidental, and his lips couldn't help but reveal a smile. Both parties sat separately in their positions as guests and hosts. A few maidservants came forwards to serve fragrant tea and stood respectfully at the sides of the 5 people seats. Has the person from the Ling clan that you are sending to the academy gotten ready? Lu Tong opened her mouth and spoke, her voice both cold and melodious, with a bit of disdain. What she hated the most were people who would enter the academy through the back door. Although she was commanded to come here, she had no good feelings towards this future younger brother disciple. Ready, ready, Ling Zhongquan hurriedly spoke. Although he was old enough to be the young girl's grandfather, both parties were of the same level, element gathering tier. One's skill in martial arts did not depend on age. Only the strong would be respected. Ling Zhongquan even had a feeling that this young girl's level was slightly higher than his own. He was at the 6th layer of element gathering tier, while this girl could be of the 7th layer, or maybe even 8th. This also caused him to be even more eager to send his own grandson to the Yang Academy. In a few years, he would be of an even higher level than Ling Dongxing and help him snatch the position of the clan head. Mu Yun, quickly come and greet your elder sister, disciple Lu. The old man turned and spoke to Ling Muyuan. Yes, grandfather. Ling Muyun spoke with great respect. Cupping his hands in Lu Yutong's direction, he said, Mu Yun greets elder sister, disciple Lu. There was heat in his gaze. He felt wild ambition when looking upon this cold, beautiful, and incomparably strong beauty. He believed that, with enough time spent together, he would be able to capture the heart of the beauty. Lu Yutong was slightly surprised. She recalled that the person from Ling Clan she was to escort was named Ling Han. However, it was none of her business. She was only responsible for bringing a person from the Ling Clan back to the academy. Since you're ready, then let's depart, she said calmly. Miss Liu, why don't you stay for a few days in our humble abode, so that we can express a small bit of our gratitude? Ling Zhongquan hurriedly said. He wanted to get close to this young girl, and in the future, she would also be able to take care of his grandson. No need. Lu Tong rejected coldly, turned, and was about to leave. Please wait. A voice was heard, and Ling Han strode out. The faces of Ling Zhongquan and his group changed slightly. However much they looked down on this piece of trash of the Ling clan, they were the thieves right now, and thieves would naturally feel guilty. Younger brother Han, weren't you injured? Return quickly to your room to rest. Ling Mu Yun reacted the quickest. He shot forwards and reached Ling Han's side, extending his hand. He wanted to fall upon Ling Han as a first moment, without giving the other any opportunity to open his mouth. He was at the 7th layer of body refining tier, and his strength was not something Zhang Yuan could compare to. 1 ED/N. It's a reference to a Chinese idiom. No ivory comes from the mouth of a dog, meaning no good words are to be expected from a scoundrel. Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Report chapter. Novel Live. Reading novel freely in books online and free novels online. Contact sitemap privacy and terms of use.
Okay, let's pause real quick. So, I fast. It's faster than me reading. but I don't particularly care. Also, um, the way it goes into Spanish sometimes confuses me. However, I think if it was just for YouTube, I'd let it continue with the AI. But I'm not. That being said, gotta get rid of the multilingual aspect. Let's try this one real quick.
There were altogether 9 layers of the body refining tier.
Oh, that's adorable. That was adorable. But no. I'm sorry, little Anna. You are, no.
Tier. The first to third layers were usually called the early stage of body refining tier. Fourth to sixth levels were the middle stage.
You know what? That works for me. That works for me. But that's gonna be for something else. I just, really wanted to get rid of the multilingual aspect of it. So, yeah, that works for me. Oh god, that little girl's voice. Ah, no. Okay. So, let's do something a little different. I believe that this is all copyright free music. Should probably ask if it's okay if I record with there's music in the background. Oh, they got other stuff too. I didn't realize that. That's the site. Okay, cool. Oh. Well, I don't plan to be using it for commercial use. So, I believe I am fine. Um, I don't know how to contact them because I don't have a contact. So I am going to just do it this way. Hey, BGMC Records, if uh if you want me to stop using your music in the background of my videos, just send me a message because I don't know how to contact you. Okay? Okay. That being said, let's see what we're doing. We don't want cover songs. We don't want Ghibli. We don't want Disney. That stuff is not good. I mean, we ain't doing the covers. Let's do this one. Let's do about half. That way I can still be heard relatively easily. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to talk to me. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, shut off the AI, and we're gonna get started. There were altogether 9 layers of the body refining tier. First, uh, first two, sorry, the first to third layers were usually called the early stage of body refining. 4th to 6th levels were the middle stage, and 7th to 9th levels were late stage. Martial artists from the 3 different stages had a great disparity in their strength. Be free to chat, by the way. If you have any questions, any comments, just make it known. I can't answer anything if I don't know. And the higher the higher the layer, the larger the disparity was. A martial artist at the 9th layer facing a martial artist at the 8th layer would have an overwhelming advantage. However, a martial artist at the 1st layer of body refining tier against a martial artist from the 2nd layer would not be at such a large disadvantage. Previously, Ling Han seemed to be only 2 layers below Zhang Yang, but there was a major disparity of 1 stage between them. However, Ling Yang was at the 7th layer of body refining tier and was of the late stage of body refining tier, the higher than Ling Han by 2 stages. This was an unbreachable gap. Even if Ling Han had been once one of the strongest Heaven Tier warriors, he would still be unable to breach this huge difference in ability. After all, the base he had now was too low. Ling Han's eyes grew serious. Taking advantage of the moment the other's palm was heading towards him, he suddenly raised his fist in an attack. Ling Muyan could not help showing an expression of ridicule. Although he didn't know how Ling Hong managed to come here, he was a well-known piece of trash among the whole Ling clan. What kind of threat could he be to himself? He circulated origin power, and his chest muscles hardened, becoming as dense as iron. So what if he received a hit from Ling Hong? The important thing now was to restrict Ling Hong and not allow him the chance to open his mouth. Sure enough, the corners of Ling Hong's mouth curved into a slight smile. The other's reaction was completely within his expectations. You're about to suffer this time. Ping! Because Ling Yun did not make any move to dodge, the sun punch hits its target solid. Ling Yun, God, looked disdainfully as he extended his hand and placed it on Ling Han's shoulder. Young brother Han, I'll send you back. He hadn't finished speaking before his mouth spat out a mouthful. Oh, maybe I should have just left it to the AI. Still looked disdainful as he extended his hand and placed it on Ling Han's shoulder. Young brother Han, I'll send you back. He hadn't finished speaking before he spat out a mouthful of blood. This wasn't even the end. He felt his chest was boiling, as if he was about to throw up all his internal organs. He suddenly fell and sat down on the ground, his expression extremely ugly. Tang, tang, tang. Ling Hong retreated a total of 7 steps. He stopped once his back met the wall behind him. What was this? Ling Hong had used a special technique in that punch. Its name was Heel Separating Shock. It allowed power to pass through the opponent's defenses before exploding, which is why, although Ling Yong had used origin power to defend, Ling Han's power still managed to pass through his muscles and explode inside his body. Naturally, it became an extremely heavy blow to Ling Yong. I'm gonna have problems with that name. I hope he dies soon. Like, I am having issues with that name. Now, if it was just Ling Yu or Ling Yong, I could do that. But Ling Yong, apparently. This was also thanks to the fact that Ling Yong was at the 7th layer of body refining tier. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured by this punch. Even death would not be an impossibility. To look down upon one of the strongest of the heaven-tiered warriors was to bring trouble onto oneself. Still, 7th layer of body refining tier was still 7th layer of body refining tier. The rebound of origin power was still far from what Ling Hong could handle. Thus, he too had been jarred to the point that he had staggered and retreated. Due to the shock of power, his right arm was suddenly dislocated. Ling Han did not even wrinkle his brow as he used his left hand to twist his arm back into position. Oh yeah. It wasn't until that moment that Ling Zhongquan and his group finally reacted. They were all angered and shocked. Their anger was because Ling Hong had actually wounded Ling Muyong, while their shock was because they were wondering how had this piece of trash managed to accomplish such a feat. Meanwhile, the few maidservants were even more dumbfounded. Was this still the young Master Han they knew? How could he be so fierce that with one punch he had injured young Master Mu Yong? who has always been known as a genius to the point that the latter was throwing up blood. Little beast, how dare you be so ruthless? Ling Zhongquan immediately shouted. Mu Yun was only worried about you and wanted to send you back to your room. Yet you did something so ruthless, you crazy dog. He sure was sly, immediately making a verbal counterattack through false accusation. Ling Muyong too regained his breath. When his eyes fell upon Ling Hong, they were filled with murder. He was the genius of the Ling clan, and yet he was actually injured by a piece of trash. How could his ego accept such a blow? Ling Hong completely ignored the two and instead looked at Lu Yutong. Miss, you're sick. This. Ling Zhongquan was about to make a move, but when he heard these words, he forcibly held back. The other was a student from Huyang Academy, and Huyang Academy was established by the imperial family of Ring Country. Those who managed to enroll there would definitely have come from a strong, huge background, and would be something that far exceeded the background of a person at element gathering tier. However, Ling Hong actually said that the other was sick. Was he seeking death? Very good. Now implicate Ling Dongjing too, Chief Butler thought. Someone would do his dirty work for him, and he would be able to easily take the position of clan head.
Wonderful, wonderful. Ling Dongxing, Ling Dongxing, you would never have thought your son is not only a piece of trash, but someone who will ruin you.
When Liu Yutong looked back at Ling Hong, her eyes revealed slight disgust. She was born very beautiful, and was also the princess of one of the 8 great clans of the imperial city, the Lui clan. The Lui clan was an existence that was only below the imperial family in status, and naturally she did not lack any number of young men who tried to integrate themselves with her. Some would even try the opposite, pretending to be cold to attract her interest. She naturally thought that Ling Hong was the same sort of pest, only that he was using the method of cursing her. This was the first time she had encountered this tactic, but this did not give her any feeling of novelty, only disgust.
How dare you!
Ling Zhonghuan was an observant man and shouted in a timely manner.
Kneel down quickly and apologize to Miss Liu.
Ling Hong gave a calm smile. In this world, aside from my parents, I will kneel down to no one. Looking at Liu Yutong, he walked towards her. He stopped once he was about 3 steps away. That was because he knew this was the limit of the other's patience. If he went any closer, she would definitely take action. He didn't want to be hit one bit. Since you were 10, you have been fainting every year for no reason. In the beginning, it was once a year, but it has become more and more frequent. At present, you should be fainting once every 10 days. Ling Hong spoke with a lowered voice, only allowing Li Yu Tong alone to hear his words. Li Yutong's expression changed. This illness of hers was only known to a few select people, even in the Luo clan. How did Ling Hong manage to find out about it? She couldn't refrain from once again sizing up Ling Hong, and as she asked, "You know the reason?" "You know the reason?" "Naturally," Ling Hong proudly nodded. Otherwise, he would not speak such shocking words. It's 3 yin vanishing veins. It's a kind of curse from the gods. Those who possess the 3 yin vanishing veins would usually only be able to live until 20. That's because during your 20th year, you will once again fall unconscious, forever unable to regain consciousness. Li Yutong was silent, but she believed Ling Han's words, because after her symptoms became more and more serious, her family had brought her to visit many famous doctors. However, every doctor she visited could not do anything, and didn't even know the name of the illness. Still, one of them deduced that she would faint more and more frequently, and one day she would no longer wake up. Now she had finally found out what the illness she had, but what of it? All the famous doctors in Rain County could not do anything, so she naturally would not think that Ling Hong had any way to help. I can heal you, Ling Hong said at that very moment. Oh, God, is it still on? Okay. I was afraid it was still on the music. I mean, I was falling asleep to the game, right? And I'm not currently falling asleep. But I don't think this is sustainable, unfortunately. I want to continue it, but I don't think it's actually going to help me at all. Maybe it will. I'll keep it up for a little while. I gotta take a quick break though. My butt hurts. Oh. Yeah, lose some weight. I think this thing's no, I can't. Now, this is kind of what I want to do, but with something in the background, like a game or something. But I just don't know how. I only have one screen. And if I try to, like, split screen it, it's just gonna, no, it's not gonna work. Alright, I believe I'm up here. Liu Tong's heart trembled, but her face did not reveal anything. If you can heal me, I can allow you to become a court official, or even let you have uncountable resources for cultivation. Ling Hong mustered a smile. There is only one way to heal the three Yang vanishing vines, and that is to train in the three Yin mysterious arts. It just so happens that I know this art, and I can teach you. But there is one condition. You have to become my follower. Lu Yongtong could not restrain anger in her heart. She was the princess of the Lui clan and was also a genius in martial arts. At the age of 17, she had already reached the 8th layer of element gathering tier. Now, a puny little martial artist at second layer of body refining actually wanted to take her in as a follower. Where did he get his confidence and boldness from? Don't feel wronged, because I can give you. I'm sorry, Mm. Do not feel wronged, because I can give you a wider horizon. I can let you rise to a higher level of martial arts. The 7 great vanishing lands, the 4 great dead valleys, the 3 great bottomless oceans. Have you seen them before? Ling Han's sweet temptation followed. Although the 3 yin vanishing veins were a curse in nature, there was always hope in every situation. Their owner would also usually possess a heaven grade spirit base. Once trained in 3 yin mysterious arts, the owner would naturally soar. Lu Yuntong could not stop eagerness from rising within her heart. She had a passionate desire to pursue martial arts, and it was the focus of everything in her life. Liu Tong was affected in her heart, but to agree to become Ling Hong's follower was an impossible request. Biting her red lips slightly, she spoke. Change your condition. Ling Hong smiled slightly. You should be at the top of the 8th layer of elemental gathering tier, right? I'll give you 2 verbal chants to show my sincerity. 3 yin supporting element. Plan of square path. 3 flowers assemble at the apex, shattering the approach of heaven. At first, Liu Yutong was not concerned. This brat was only at the 2nd layer of body refining tier. What kind of shocking verbal chant could he know? He was most likely only pretending to be mysterious. But when she heard these 2 verbal chants, the origin energy within her body began to stir without reason, as if the door to the 9th level of elemental gathering tier was open. She was moved. Although she knew that she would be able to break through to the 9th level of element gathering tier, but the estimated time should be around a month later. However, she had a strong feeling that now she only needed about a day. No, right at this moment, she could enter seclusion and proceed to break through. This was too much. It was just 2 verbal chants, and yet they had so much effect on her. Those two verbal chants from those were two verbal chants from 3 yin mysterious art. How was it? Ling Hong smiled. Consecutively, he raised his voice and said, "Become my follower. Now I will teach you supreme godly skills." Pooh! Ling Zhongquan and group popped, unable to hold back their haughty laughter any longer. What could be more hilarious than this? Just a piece of trash, and he wanted to have a genius from Hu Yang Academy become his follower, and he even said he would teach her supreme godly skills. Such bragging skills and guts were truly remarkable. Probably the only thing supreme and godly amongst his skills. The idiot had no measure of his own ability. It was such a joke. The maid servants covered their small mouths. They too knew Ling Hyung's background, and looking at the attitude Ling Zhongquan displayed towards Li Yutong, knew of how noble a status this young girl was. Li Yutong's expression turned cold. Suddenly, she arrived in front of Ling Hong. Her right hand flashed and held his neck. "Recite 3 yin mysterious arts, or else I will kill you," she coldly said. Since Ling Hong dared to ask such a thing from Li Yutong, he naturally foresaw such a reaction from her. So he only smiled and said, "Then kill me. I wouldn't need to wait too long before I see you on the path to the netherworld. We can be travel companions at that time." Li Yutong's hold tightened. Although her 5 fingers looked small and smooth, at this moment they seemed more like iron claws, strangling Ling Hong to the point of suffocation. Soon his face turned red, and his eyes became bloodshot. Ling Hong's 4 limbs started to twitch violently. Ling Zhongquan and his companions had no intention of interfering. In fact, their deepest hope was to have Li Yutong kill Ling Hong. "Are you going to say it or not?" Li Yutong slightly loosened her grip. Li Hong forced out a smile and shook his head determinedly. The current Ling clan was an extremely dangerous place to him. He had to find a strong bodyguard and would not agree to whatever else Lu Yutong suggested to him. He had to make her his protector. What he lacked now was time. As long as he had the time he needed to become stronger, what did a mere Ling clan count as? Li Yutong once again tightened her grip, and Li Hong's body started to twitch violently before his 4 limbs suddenly dropped. There was no more movement. How stubborn. Li Yutong sighed internally, and her origin power rushed out and restarted Li Hong's heartbeat. Exhaling, Ling Hong once again opened his eyes and took in large mouthfuls of air. 3 years, Li Yutong said. "No more than 3 years. And within these 3 years, I will obey your commands." 3 years later, she would be 20 years old, and if she would not lose consciousness and no longer awaken, then she would be completely free. Ling Zhongquan and his group once more made a snort-like sound with their mouths, but this time it was because of their great shock. They were completely at a loss. Was there some problem with their hearing? They seemed to have heard Li Yutong assent to becoming Ling Hong's follower? To become an underling of a piece of trash? This they must have heard wrongly. Definitely so. Ling Hong came back to attention and smiled before raising his hand. Deal. 3 years would be long enough for him to mature. At least it would be long enough for him to rise above the level of Li Zhongquang and his groupies. He would no longer have to worry about any threats to his life. Pah! Li Yutong extended her hand as well and joined it with his upraised palm. This was a promise between martial artists. What a delicate hand. When their palms were joined together, Ling Hong could not help but feel his heart stir. Although he was once a strong warrior of the Haven tribe, I wanted to say tribe there. That is the wrong word. Of the Haven tier, and furthermore, the Alchemy Emperor, and there were uncountable beautiful women who threw themselves at him in his previous life. Since his soul had melded with his predecessor, it was as if he, too, had returned to a youthful, impulsive age. The passion that he had not experienced for a long time was burning inside his soul, making him feel as if he had truly returned to the age of 16 years old. Ling Hong enjoyed this kind of change. This is what this is what living meant. Miss Leo, don't listen to the. Sorry, hang on.
Miss Lear, don't listen to the nonsense this little beast is sprouting.
Let's return to discussing official matters. Ling Zhong interrupted. He didn't want Ling Hong to continue making a mess out of things. And that Zhang Yuan, he truly was an idiot. He couldn't even keep proper watch over a piece of trash. Once he returned, he'd make sure to kill him. Chief Butler, Ling Hong coldly looked at him. This position in Huyang Academy is what my father risked his own life to obtain. Now my father is risking his life in Purple Light Ground Valley, and yet you shamelessly attempt to snatch this position. Don't you feel your face burning?
Impudent! How dare you speak to me this way?
Ling Zhongquang suddenly shouted. Li Yutong previously did not bother about such a matter, but since she now had a deal with Ling Hong, her attitude naturally changed. Butler Ling, what is going Butler Ling, what is going on here? I need an explanation. Ling Zhuquang could pretend he did not hear Ling Hong's word, but he definitely would not be able to do the same with Li Yutong's word. Not only was she the representative of Huyang Academy, her own ability was above his. I notice a problem right here. Let's see, chapter 4. What line would this be? Hang on. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 3. Wait, that's not how they do lines. Damn it, I don't know. Well, let's make a quick note of it in my VODs here. Okay. So we're on chapter 4. Let's say what do you say? That's about 3/4 of the way through. Ah, dang. Alright, let's count together, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. We'll go with line 38 or 39. And, let's see. Academy is missing the Y. Alright, let's go back to the page. And carry on. Her own ability was above his. What right did he have to ignore Li Yutong's words? He hurriedly said, "It is like this. This boy is the son of Ling clan head, Ling Dongxing. Thus, Ling Dongxing became selfish and wanted to give this placement privately to this boy. I'm only thinking of the big picture to make the most out of this precious position." Well,
It's like. Oh, no, where was I?
what was the voice that I was doing?
It's like this. This boy is the son of Ling clan head, Ling Dongxing. Thus, Ling Dongxing became selfish and wanted to give this placement privately to this boy. I am only thinking of the big picture to make the most out of this precious position.
What grand words! Thinking of the big picture, Ling Hong smiled coldly. Ling Zhongquang, are you completely without shame? This position was obtained by my father, who is risking his life even now as we speak. What does it have to do with the clan? Why do you need concern yourself with it? You only want to give this position to your own grandchild, and in the future, when his level exceeds my father's, he would be able to help you seize the position of clan head. You want to do such a shameless thing, yet claim to be doing it out of loyalty to the clan. What a shameless dog. Having received such a big, hearty scolding from Ling Hong, Ling Zhongquang was furious to the point that his whole body was trembling. He had even come close to spitting out blood in anger.
That's a beast! How dare you insult me this way?
Ling Zhongquang was filled with wrath. He was actually scolded by a piece of trash. If he could not heavily punish Ling Hong, he would definitely be in anger to the point of eternal injury. Ling Hong only calmly smiled and turned to Li Yutong. I have completely zero interest in enrolling at Hu Yang Academy. The agreement about the position is cancelled. In exchange, let Yu Yang Academy compensate me with some additional points. Agreed. Agreed. Li Yutong nodded. To expend all efforts to cultivate an individual student would, in the first place, require a large pool of medicinal potions.
No!
Ling Zhongquang immediately shouted loudly.
This position belongs to Mu Yun! None of you can steal it away!
Old dog, is there something wrong with your hearing? This position was obviously obtained by my father. What does it have to do with you? Ling Hong scoffed, and then he looked at Li Yutong, saying, Now, this is my first command for you. He paused for a moment before saying, Restrain this old dog for me. I want to give a few good slaps to this shameless old bastard. Insult to injury, people. Insult to injury. Sorry, it would be injury to insult, wouldn't it? Li Yutong only hesitated a moment before she nodded. All right. Ling Hong had already expressed his sincerity by gifting her 2 valuable chants. Now she too had to express her own sincerity. What? Li Yutong truly agreed to become Ling Hong's follower? The word follower seemed grand, but in truth it was something like an attendant, a servant. A grand genius from Hu Yang Academy actually agreed to become someone else's follower. What was this inconceivable affair?
Inconceivable!
But it was reality. Li Yutong had already stood up, her beautiful eyes focused on Ling Zhongquang, and a fierce battle spirit exuded from her graceful figure.
Elder sister, disciple Lu, don't be deceived by this brat!
Ling Muyong yelled, his face filled with shock. He had no way to accept the fact that a talented, intelligent woman like Li Yutong would actually be deceived by Ling Hong's flowery words. Particularly when this stunning beauty was someone he wanted to do his utmost to pursue. Now it was as if he had eaten 10,000 flies. He felt completely suffocated. Are you going to surrender, or will you wait for me to end? Liu Tong asked calmly. Oh, that's a lot of reading. I might wait a second before continuing reading. My voice is starting to get strained. And I didn't realize that it would do that. I haven't been reading for very, like, aloud for very long, so you probably noticed. I wonder if a splash of lemon would help. Be right back. Mm. Oh. Walk it in. Oh. Do I want to stop here for now? Kind of. I've been doing this for 2 hours now. I don't know how long people usually. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here for the day. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Wolvenheart. Signing off.